The earlier you take the risk, the better off you are, right? Today you have AI and chat GPT. Every other week, our satellite was going up on an Ariane space. We go and interview folks from the Indian diaspora. So businessmen, entrepreneurs, private bankers, professors, psychics, gurus, millennials, recruiting and retaining good leadership team. I utilize wealth. I talk about wealth utilization. I talk about time utilization.
And we have with us today in the studio none other than Jayesh Parekh, the co-founder of Sony Entertainment Television and managing partner Good Protein Fund. Alongside this, Jayesh is also on the advisory board of a non-profit Akhand Jyoti Eye Hospital in India, which performs over 140,000 cataract eye surgeries every year, 80% of which are free of charge for the patients. Alongside, Jayesh is also a published author of the book, What Shall We Do with All This Money? And he is here with us today to talk about the long game of success. Jayesh, welcome to the podcast. It is such an honor to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Payal, and thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to have this chat with you.
Lovely. And I have not even read half of your profile because of the number of years of experience and the knowledge and the expertise that you bring. So, if you had to tell us about your journey as to how did you land up doing all of this, co-founding Sony Entertainment, writing a book, What Shall We Do with All the Money, being on the advisory board, how has this journey been like this?
Yeah, so first of all, I will tell you, I'll share a secret, which is that I'm much older than I look. So I have a long, illustrious life of both professional career as well as entrepreneurial career. So, Payal, I grew up in lower middle class in Calcutta, which is now called Kolkata in Eastern India.
Yeah.
And I did undergraduate in electrical engineering, joined IIM Calcutta, which is called IIMC. I
Okay.
dropped out halfway through and flew to Austin, Texas.
Uh-huh.
I got a MSEE from the University of Texas at Austin. I worked for IBM in Houston, and I came to Singapore, which is where I live now, to help start India as a country for IBM, as IBM did not have a presence in India back then.
Okay.
Now IBM is the biggest headcount in the world for IBM, higher than even USA. Most people don't know that. After 12 years at IBM, I became a forced entrepreneur. And I was super lucky to become a co-founder of Sony Entertainment Television, which is, as you know, a cable and satellite network of Indian diaspora TV channels for worldwide audience. And after a successful exit, I tried to retire unsuccessfully. So after that, I was a managing partner for Jungle Ventures Fund 1 and 2.
Okay.
And I made another attempt to retire. Jungle Ventures, by the way, now is on Fund 5 and has about more than $1 billion under management.
Wow.
AUM. And presently, my partner and I run a VC fund, which is called Good Protein Fund. And that invests in alternative protein, early stage deep tech startups worldwide. And as you mentioned, I'm also an advisory board member of the nonprofit Akhand Jyoti Eye Hospital in Bihar, India, and happy to talk about any of these topics.
Wow. So from electrical engineering, right? Like you said, and you went into a completely different industries, different zones. Was there never a fear? Like you said, there was a forced entrepreneurship, and you're happy that it happened. How would you explain that?
Yeah, so I think very lucky because I come from a business family.
Okay.
And I was the first generation, my brother and I, who worked for someone. So the whole world, after 12 years at IBM, thought I was, silly to leave IBM while I had an opportunity to go and run India for IBM. Instead of that, I quit and became a forced entrepreneur. And that was the best thing that happened to me because my family rejoiced and saying, okay, we've got our son back in a way, right? So risk taking is in the genes, and I think that's what it requires. And so I've never looked back since then. Not that all the startups have been, I mean, obviously what your list is on a bio is all the success, but obviously there have been some failures as well. But I've never looked back. I've just always been a risk taker and an entrepreneur.
So risk-taking ability, like you said, I know so many people whom I coach, they don't have that risk-taking ability. What does it take to build that? Because it's not easy. It's, people tell me, we have a lot of responsibilities. We have so many things to do, EMIs to pay. We have to keep our job secured. So everybody's risk-taking abilities gets down. It tries to fall down. So how does one make sure that they can build that appetite?
So there are two kinds of people primarily, and then there's a gray area in between. So let's just talk about the two people. One is risk takers. They go out, they build businesses. They either never worked for anyone or they worked and then they bounced and they started a company and have never looked back.
Yeah.
Second class of people are people who are just not risk takers. Either their DNA, their genetic disposition, how their family background was, they are just not risk takers. And I
Yeah.
tell them and I coach them to say, it's okay. If you're a professional and if you're doing a good job and you're enjoying your work,
Hmm.
then just because the rest of the world is moving after entrepreneurship in these last decade, you really don't have to do the exact same thing. And
Right.
so instead of starting a company and failing in 2 years because they don't have the risk appetite or the wherewithal to start and run a business, I would recommend to them that it's fine. Just be quiet, calm, and just continue with your work. It's the
Mm.
gray area of people who are wanting to do an entrepreneurial startup and they are struggling with this risk-taking ability. So whenever there is this huge fear inside you that says, I need to pay my EMI and I need to pay my
Yeah.
kids, if they have kids school fees, or how will I survive? The earlier you take the risk, the better off you are, right? So
True.
if you take it when you're single, that's better than when
Yeah.
you're married. If
Agree.
you're married and not have kids, then the earlier is better. Of
Yeah.
course, some of us, like me, when I did Sony Entertainment Television, I already had two kids then, and I was in Singapore, which is the most expensive. But my
Yeah.
risk taking was in the DNA, so I would recommend very strongly to say, look around and find other people. So single founder for a person who's a professional, not such a big risk taker, is extremely difficult. I would recommend that you find a partner who is a higher risk taker than you. And
Mm.
again, it doesn't matter whether you are a business minded person, economics minded person, or a technology person, right? Everybody thinks you need to have both. And sometimes
Correct.
it's okay to have multiple founders who have those things. But I think at the end of the day, there is no choice. I mean, risk taking is something that you need
Yeah.
to work on. And in many cases, it fails the first time and they bounce and go get a job and never look back, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. But there are people who do it 2 times and 3 times and 4 times. And in
Uh-huh.
Silicon Valley, those guys get
Oh,
funded
yes.
faster than a guy who
Yeah.
hasn't done a startup. Yeah.
True, absolutely. And it is not just in the entrepreneurship, right? Even in the corporate world, people are hesitant to take the risk of trying a new industry, trying a new role, taking up a new responsibility. We've all got into that comfort zone. And I think one of the biggest reasons to get into the comfort zone also happens is that nowadays people are looking for very quick wins. Like we are talking about the long game of success. People want quick wins. I've invested in this or I have started this. At least by the end of the month, I should see the result. We are not willing to wait, and wait. And we are, I've written a chapter in one of my books called Bet on Yourself. We are just not willing to bet on ourselves. Right. So, why do you think that happens? Why are people not wanting to give that time to themselves once they have
Yeah.
invested in their growth?
Yeah. So a lot is because of the experience that they've gone through personally. But more than that, it's the FOMO. When they see others, the next gen millennials, we're seeing everyone around them. Somebody has an exit, somebody invested as an angel and really had a massive windfall. And they're looking at all these other people and saying that, hey, listen, I'm getting left out. Right.
Hmm.
So this is one thing. That's why a lot of people are in Bitcoin, for example. Again,
Yeah.
not good or bad, but people are like, oh
True.
my God, I should have invested when it was $1,000 and I missed out on it. So that's a quick win. And so that's one thing. The other is it's immaturity, right? So the younger you are, the less mature you are. You haven't seen life as much and you haven't experienced as much. And you just feel that, you know what, if I just get this huge windfall quickly, I'm
Hmm.
set. Then I don't have to
Hmm.
worry and I can brag and I can go hobnob with the rest other successful people.
Hmm.
But I think the last unfortunate thing is that they really think that they're very clever. Because what
Hmm.
has happened today is, we had very limited information and we used to make decisions. Then Google came around and we
True.
surfed on Google and we made decisions. Today you
Hmm.
have AI and Chat GPT and you
Absolutely.
just drop it in there and you can actually, it facilitates,
Yeah.
but it is as good as
Much
what
more.
information you're giving it.
Yeah.
But people feel that I'm very clever because
Hmm.
I've checked it on GPT and if I do this and if I make this investment, if I do this startup, it's not so easy just because you run it through Chat GPT. It's just at the end of the day, an LLM model that's going to give you limited feedback.
Very true. And I think that's why people are like, okay, I want to see the results very quickly. Now, coming back to you, you have seen it through so many, people, businesses. I don't think it was quick. It has taken you the hard work, it has taken you the efforts to put in. And definitely you had a lot of setbacks, a lot of failures. But Jesh, if you had to think of some failures, which one of them actually turned out to be a stepping stone for you, connected with the risk taking ability that you spoke about?
Yeah. So I'll start first from the end of my IBM assignment. I was an expatriate.
Okay.
So expat life in Singapore is amazing, and I was working on India and traveling to India frequently. But when IBM decided to go into India, they offered me this job in India, and I've never worked in India,
Okay.
unfortunately. And so I've only traveled and done business, not physically staying there. And so I declined. And that was a big setback for me because I was on a very cushy job with making tons of remuneration and plus all the benefits that you get.
Mm.
But guess what? That setback, and I decided to live in Singapore and not even move back to Houston, which is where I came to Singapore from.
Okay.
And that was a double setback. And that led me to meeting some folks who were starting a television channel. And they said, hey, listen, we have a little bit of a struggle. And you have this professional Americanis and you understand how these business plans
Mm.
are set together and how to communicate with joint venture partners. And so, can you come and help us? I knew nothing about television, but it just turned out to be the best thing that happened to me,
Mm.
right? So, that was one. The other thing is that I got admission in IIT Kharagpur, but I got into IIT Kharagpur in metallurgy. My rank was not that good. There was a fascination I had for electrical engineering. I have no idea why. So I
Mm.
did not go to IIT Kharagpur, which was a setback to my parents. And I went to MS University Baroda and I did double electrical engineering from them. The best 5 years of my life, my value system, my camaraderie, the people I met, and I was in my place. Everybody finds their place, whether it's in IITs or in American university. You want to go
Yeah,
to Harvard and Yale and all of that. But if you're not, you get struggling because you'll be in the 25 percentile rather than the 75 percentile that I
correct.
was
Yeah.
in MS University Baroda. And then the third thing that happened, again, disappointment for my parents, is that I got into IIM Calcutta. I went for 2 trimesters and then I dropped out. So I dropped out of
Mm.
IMC. My brother sent me a ticket. I had no money to go to Austin. So after graduating from MS University Baroda, I had two choices, go to IIM Calcutta or go to Austin. I didn't have any money to go to Austin. So my father sent me to IIM Calcutta. But then my brother sent me a ticket and he said, we'll figure out the fees, come over. I dropped out of IIM Calcutta, but it was a huge, huge advantage and benefit because I went out as an adventure.
Mm.
But again, my professional, my communication skills, my experience, all of that happened was all in USA. So I
Mm.
went to UT Austin after dropping out of IIM Calcutta. So these are kind of some of the examples of my setbacks that turned around. I can say that at the crossroad, I made decisions, but you have to be lucky, fortuitous.
Mm. Destiny plays its own role, in a lot of things. It sets
Now
the
I
paths
know.
that we have to go to. Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
Payal, now I know.
when you look back and connect the dots, you start feeling that this was the proper thing that to happen.
But let me assure you that back when I was IBM and I was doing Sony Entertainment Television and doing Jungle Ventures,
Mhm.
it was all me.
Uh,
I was the smartest salesman in IBM. I was the smartest decision maker. I was the
wow.
amazing
Uh-huh.
finder, right? Fast forward, when I look back at my life, I'm just thinking, my God, how lucky was I, right? Any of the satellite that went up on Aryan would have exploded. So many things happened in the joint venture. We got the name Sony Entertainment Television. Otherwise, we
Mm.
were going to start an Ace TV channel. Well, I don't know what would have happened to that.
Yeah,
So
true.
many roads that you come on, crossroads. You think that you're the smartest guy, but really you must be lucky. Transcendence has to play a role. Now I know.
I agree. I agree. People say it's 1%, but yes, it does have it's that 1% is a lot in a lot of things. You also mentioned, Jayesh, that you had no idea about the television industry and then you still went ahead. Did you go with your gut feeling? How did you make that decision? Did you ask a lot of people around you? How did you make that decision,
No.
which people usually are
Yeah.
afraid of changing industries?
Right. So again, I had an IT company of my own with another partner, and he and I were running this IT company when this opportunity came. And when this opportunity came, I went back to my IT partner and I asked him, I said, hey, would you mind if I do this? And he said, yeah, we are no longer working for IBM. We don't have any bosses. It's you and me. Keep one leg here and one leg there. Don't abandon this IT startup. So I did both of them. And so at one point, I was straddling between the two. But I had a good feel about the industry, the television industry back then, because ZTV was the only cable and satellite television
Yeah,
channel, right, of Indian
yeah,
diaspora.
true.
And there were back then maybe 30, 40, 50 channels in USA, right? Now there are hundreds and thousands, but back then, so I saw that two things. One is that, of course, there is a lot of hunger for Indian diaspora entertainment and television. In this case, it was free to air at the beginning, but also the ad spend, right? It was a very, very minuscule ad spend back then. And so I said, well, one channel is not enough, and there should be multiple channels. And of course, you look at the explosion now.
Hmm. Okay. So there was a moment where you felt that there are certain roadblocks and you had to cross them. Were there any moments where you felt that's it now, it's not going moving further, and you felt it's like a roadblock?
It happens every other week. Our satellite was going up on an Aryan space, up into space. The
Mhm.
previous satellite exploded, right? The rocket exploded. So had our rocket exploded, we didn't have enough money to move for the next launch, which was a year
Yeah.
after that, for
Huh.
example. Number two, many, many other channels were dying around us. So Jain
Hmm.
TV, Business India had launched a TV channel. Uh, Pearson Group, along with Hindustan Times, so Shobna Bhartiya, they launched a channel,
Hmm.
Home TV, etc. So a lot of channels around us were just falling on by the wayside. And
Okay.
then the last part was that we were free to air, and then we had to go subscription model. And that was a huge risk that we took, and we flipped it to 50% ad revenue and 50% subscription revenue. So yes, all along. And then the biggest risk that we took was cricket. So our joint venture partners were all American from Sony Entertainment or Sony Pictures in Los Angeles. And we took them to cricket matches. We taught them cricket, and they were fascinated by the game. And we explained the economics to them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And IPL started in our offices, right? So IPL from scratch, we made $1 billion bet on it. And look at what it is today.
Wow. So your entire journey, as inspiring it is also full of discipline, and it is full of, everyday tasks that you have been doing, and like you said, overcoming the roadblocks every time. Not just you, anybody who you have worked with who has been successful along with yourself, what are some of the daily habits that you think the people like you have, which many people overlook? What would be your such habits that have got you till where you are?
Yeah. I would just basically point to one and one thing only, which is a consistent and rigorous awareness, consciousness of the big picture, the
Hmm.
360-degree view of the business. If you do that day in and day out, then you stay on task.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
if you're a startup entrepreneur or you're a multinational CEO,
Uh-huh.
every one of those successful people have a daily routine where you just have to constantly be aware of whatever you're doing with a big picture view of a 360-degree view of the business. People will have a 90-degree view of the finance, maybe 35-degree view of the marketing. They'll have, 60% view of something else,
Hmm.
but it's just a wholesome, holistic view of the business.
I don't want people to miss one very important thing that you said there, which you said it very quickly, each and every day. So, we think, okay, we've done it in this week, we'll do it next time, we've done it for a month. But the way you said each and every day, there has to be this consistency and this 360-degree view. It's not a occasional thing which people make, because a lot of people we have it, they would be like, okay, you know what, I've done this for 6 months, I'm not seeing any results. So how does one keep themselves motivated to keep going on every single day when you don't see any results happening and you feel just nothing is working in your favor?
So two things happen almost on a daily basis. One is some things are working and you're being successful,
Hmm.
and some things are not working and I need to fix it now. on a daily basis, if I'm conscious of it, then I prioritize my time today to say, okay, what am I going to work on, Pyle? Am I today going to work on my success part and grow that and push that?
Mm.
I can't be all the time working on fixing problems, right? And not grow my business. So
Right.
it's a really a dance between these two. And on a daily basis, you got to pick your priorities. And some things are so critical
Mm.
that you can't avoid but work on it, maybe 1 day, 2 days, whatever time it
Mm.
takes, right? So you get into a government regulation problem or licensing problem, some other problem, finance related problem. All of that
Mm.
you need to work on. Be very conscious of it that while you're doing something really fun, right? So you're doing a press release and you're really enjoying yourself and you're in the limelight. But at the
Huh.
back of your mind, you know that I got to go back to the office and I got to fix this big problem without which the company would not continue to succeed.
Mm. Wow. You have also, on these lines, written a book. What shall we do with all this money? I was so intrigued by the title of it. What shall we do with all this money? What is the book about, and what is the concept about this book?
Yeah. So it was a one-liner. I live in a very affluent country, which anyone who has been to Singapore will
Yeah, it
agree with
is.
me that folks who live here are living a charmed life. Now,
Yeah,
when I look
very
at those
much.
people around me, I talk to them and I tell them, and I got this one line epiphany, which is you work very hard to make money.
Hmm.
Then you work very hard to make money on money, and then you die. All right.
So true.
So
Very
my
true.
friend, so my friends here, many of them, not all, uh, work on making money on money. They're already living in Sentosa and they're living in all these phenomenal houses and condos, but they're
Hmm.
working extremely hard to make money on money. And I'm asking
Hmm.
them, what for? And so can you step back? Can you smell the roses? Can you enjoy your life? And time and time again, people
Hmm.
said, well, this is all I know how to do. And I really enjoy doing what I'm doing. And so that was really the reason I came out of the woodwork. And I
Hmm.
said, okay, right. So that was one of them. The other is, of course, the utilization of wealth. So I don't get enamored by creation of wealth, right? There are people after people who tell me this is how I created my wealth. And I'm more enchanted by saying, okay, tell me how are you utilizing your money? They made so much
Hmm.
money, right? Etc. And people are
Yeah, I think we
struggling.
all talk
Well, I don't
about
need as much money.
creation. We don't talk about
Yes,
utilization. We talk about creation, and that's so true.
correct. And in the Indian diaspora, there's a succession plan, which is we're going to give all our money to our kids, right? In the American
Yeah, yeah,
context, they
yeah.
are doing a lot of philanthropy. Now we have started to do philanthropy, but per capita philanthropy is very, very low for us. So
Hmm.
what happened at the end is that I ended up interviewing. I'm not a writer. So I said, okay, I have a fantastic network. And so let me go and interview folks from the Indian diaspora. So businessmen, entrepreneurs, private bankers, professors, psychics, gurus, millennials. Those were the best interviews of the millennials. And
Hmm.
really, at the end, the book ended up being for the millennials of Indian diaspora who are going to inherit hundreds of billions of dollars
Hmm.
worldwide.
Hmm.
And they're all looking for purpose. Succession is very difficult. If somebody's got a metal trading company, somebody's a jeweler, the kids don't want to do that, right? And they're looking for the next thing to do. And so this book is actually a discussion about what shall we do with all this money to see if it will influence some of these millennials to find ideas.
So what is the conclusion like? What is it that we need to do with the money? Like I said,
Right.
creation
So,
is one part. Utilization, what did you
right.
what did you come to?
Yeah. So this is like asking, saying, who killed the king? And you want me to disclose who killed the king, and my book is basically on the last page. So most important thing is you must read some of the interviews, and it's very simple reading. It's 4 or 5 pages per person who's
Okay.
talking about it, and there are different models. So really two things come out of the book. One is utilization of wealth is really the most important, and people are looking for purpose in
Hmm.
that utilization of wealth. That's one thing that clearly comes out across the board. And then the second thing that happens is that people are looking for new ideas,
Hmm.
different ideas. They don't want to sit on their philanthropy committee and give away hundreds of crores and millions of dollars. That's not really exciting. But
True.
it's to find different models of giving, different models of philanthropy. So it could be social impact investing, for example, right? And so these are the new kids, next gen, who are looking for ideas, and it comes from many chapters in this book. And I get messages and calls to say, "Can you please connect me to this guy?" because this is what he's doing and I really like that. Maybe I can work on multiplying that.
Hmm. Nice. So, where is this book available? Is it where all can?
Oh, it's on everywhere. It's on Amazon and you can buy it
Okay.
everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Great. That's so nice. So, before we move on to our next segment of leadership rapid fire, Jayesh, what would be your most biggest important advice to our listeners?
I think the important thing is to pause after every successful milestone,
Hmm.
right? So people keep going on and on and on, and they don't know when to pause. See, risk taking for greed versus risk taking to create and deliver
Yeah.
the best product and service, right?
Yeah.
So many people who build a unicorn and they suddenly say that, oh, it all fell apart.
Hmm.
Why? Because they kept going mindlessly, didn't look at the 360-degree view and lost track somewhere along the line. Whereas my recommendation is pause. Every milestone, pause, look around, take your ostrich head out every so often
Hmm.
and see whether
Super.
is it enough? Is the risk going forward worth taking?
Hmm.
You took risk. You started a business and you brought it to a certain level. And let's say it's $1 billion business, $100 million business, 100 crore business. How much is enough? So you're saying, okay, let me just keep going till
Yeah.
it fails, till it becomes zero, or every so often you feel, okay, I think my turn is enough, right? So Mitch Kapor of Lotus 123 realized that it was not his cup of tea, and he
Hmm.
sold his business to IBM, right?
Hmm.
So I'm just saying you must know your place in time and life and
Yeah.
say, okay, this is where we pause and keep going, pause, keep going, and at some point call it quits.
I like that 360-degree view that at every time just come out there, zoom out, look at everything, then zoom in. Don't just stay zoomed in all the time. I think that's a great advice. Leadership rapid
Thank you.
fire. Whatever comes to your mind, Jayesh, a quick word
Okay,
or a sentence is what we would like to hear. You ready for it?
I am.
Great. Okay. One word that defines success for you.
Gravitas,
Nice. Okay. Your go-to mantra in tough times.
pause and go,
Ah.
pause and go.
The hardest part of scaling a business.
I think team, uh, finding
Hmm.
good senior team,
Yeah.
cracking the economics and the business code,
Hmm.
and sustaining the cash flow.
True. I think especially the first one and the last one that you said, finding that type of a team in business that can support your vision, your purpose, and really go along with you is very necessary. Innovation or execution, which one wins?
I say both. One can't win without the other.
But if you had to choose one, what would you take?
I would now take execution, but all my life I went after innovation.
Okay. But then you had people
So because
who were executing it.
my risk-taking ability, and I was young and I was doing startups, and so innovation was the name of the game. Without innovating a
Ah,
product or a service, you couldn't
okay.
win. But
Hmm.
now I've learned enough to say I look for a team which is who, what, and how. Who is
Hmm.
this team? What are they going to do? And how are they going to do? That execution becomes extremely important. Of course, the biggest
Okay.
question now I'm asking is why? Why are you
Hmm.
doing what you're doing?
Hmm. Nice. Yeah, good. Biggest leadership myth that you want to bust.
I think uh, I'm the smartest guy and I know more than everyone else.
Okay. One trend in business leaders should not ignore.
Recruiting and retaining good leadership team.
Okay. Is that something which is because of the AI and everything that is going on now?
Also, but I think people know that team is very important, but they somehow lose track of it.
Okay.
They don't focus on it because recruiting is fine,
Hmm.
but then
Meaning,
retaining, they lose track of it, right? So
hmm.
recruiting and retaining a good team
Yeah.
is extremely important.
Got it. True. Faster growth or a sustainable growth? What would you choose?
Fast and then sustain. Pause, then
So
repeat.
Okay, so first keep moving ahead, grow as much as you can,
fast,
pause, and then
then sustain.
sustain and see where the gaps are.
Exactly. So today's day and age, there are a lot of smart CEOs. What are they doing? They are growing the business just based on even negative cash flow, user
Hmm.
database, the data,
Yeah.
right? User numbers they're trying to increase. Then the VCs come in and say, how much money are you going to keep spending in negative cash flow? So they
Hmm.
pause and then start working on P&L and EBITDA, right?
Yeah.
So you go fast, but then sustain. If we can't sustain today, people are losing hope that these guys are going to be negative cash flow for the rest of
Yeah,
their life. How long
that's
can
what
you
they want
sustain
to
that?
see. You're right. No, you're correct. I am on the board of some non-profits, and I have seen that the major thing right now that we want to do is scale up. And then you take that pause, zoom out, see what's working. But yes, like you said, investors want to see what your growth looks like. So I think that's a very good way you have put it, that grow, pause, then again zoom out and look back and then sustain that growth enough. If listeners remember just one thing from your conversation with us, what should that be?
Practice wealth affluence, then pause and practice time affluence,
Uh-huh.
and then practice mind affluence, right? So
Okay.
wealth affluence, at some point you should know that this is enough and let me pause. And so you can then go to the next level to say, why did I accumulate all that wealth?
Hmm.
Let me now start practicing time affluence because that's a huge asset that we have. So utilization of time, by the way, so if you just sit at home and watch Netflix, that's not utilization of time. Time
Mhm.
affluence means I can meet whomever I want, I can go wherever I want, I live the life as I wanted based on my terms,
Right.
but I utilize wealth. I talk about wealth utilization, I talk about time utilization. And then
Hmm.
the third part, which is a work in progress for all of us, which is mind affluence. Are you
Hmm.
happy all the time? Are you in peace? Do you
Hmm.
have compassion? Do you have mindfulness? Right? And are you stringing all the happiness to create joy, which I say is at a higher level than happiness, right? So I'd say mind affluence really ultimately is what all of us are working towards. So I think
Wow.
that really would be my parting words.
That is so good, Jayesh. This entire conversation, I'll be very honest, hasn't been just the skills. It's been a great blend of skill and mindset. I mean, you've really blended both so well that in your own career, how you started, what are some of the failures, how did you overcome those roadblocks, how did you make sure that you can keep up to your own mindset. It hasn't been an easy journey for you either. So thank you so much for taking out the time to be here on this podcast. And I know how your day looks like, how busy schedule you have. But thanks a lot, Jayesh, for sharing your insights.
Always have time to speak to you, Piles. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I'm just delighted that we had this talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And this one's for our audience. This is Jayesh Parekh and Payal Nanjiani wishing you loads of success in your career life. God bless.